Go.
Okay, hi.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today, Jeff, for the next installment of the Northwest Chamber member interview studio session.
Thank you for having me.
We're so glad. Jeff is one of our newer chamber members. He is with SI Restoration, his company, and we're really excited to get him on the interview series today.
Great. I am glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, we'll get into the questions and anything else we can save for the end then.
Great.
All right, Jeff. So how is it that you got into the world of restoration?
Well, I graduated from the University of Maryland, and I wanted to always be a salesperson. That was my career path. And I worked for one local company, and then after that, I had joined another company, and very quickly they had said to me, before you can actually, and the company was actually selling carpet commercially and installation, and they said before you can actually start selling carpet, you had to go through the I guess the hazing period of selling carpet cleaning. Well, after about 4 months selling carpet cleaning, I'm sorry about that. Didn't think anybody was going to actually call me. Okay. Yeah, this is actually much better over here. What happens is that I started cleaning carpet, and I started selling carpet cleaning for them. And what happened was they went out of business. It was a 150-year-old company. So I said, well, I'll go into the carpet cleaning business, just strictly commercial at the time. This is in 1989. I had no understanding of business whatsoever. So people, the one guy had said to me years later, a consultant of ours, he says, do you know the difference between you and all the big guys out there? And I said, well, they're probably smarter, better looking, whatever it is. And the answer is, no, there's nothing. It's really, they're the same. It's just, it's gaining the knowledge and then being able to use it correctly. So after trials and tribulations, and then of course, we got a water damage call from a client who we were cleaning carpet. And to make a long story short, we didn't do it correctly, but we told the client we didn't do it correctly. And we knew that because we said we had no idea what we were doing. And so we did it. And then I said to my brother, who's my partner, I said, Mike, I go, we may get another call like this. Well, 31 years later, we do about $15 to $20 million a year in business, and we have up and over 100 employees. So that's us.
That's great. And what a great origin story, how everything started. I mean, that's great. And you probably have an appreciation for the business. And now there is a difference between you and the other guys because of your experience. So that's great.
Anybody who wants, I always encourage people to try to strike out on their own, and people get nervous, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Neither did anybody else. I mean, you just do it, and you hit the bumps, and you're always going to, in 31 years, I still hit bumps. I mean, you're never going to get rid of the bumps, but eventually the old bumps start to wear down. So.
Yeah, well, that's great. I guess piggybacking off of that, what is it that you love most about your field of work?
We help people. In a dire emergency, I mean, when you have a water damage in your basement, and I'm using that just as an example, people don't know what to do. And now with mold being an issue, they're even more concerned. So we're actually, it's helping people, and people are really appreciative, and you get paid for it.
And hey, you always want like your place of business or your home to be in tip-top shape. And when there's stuff like that, you don't know how to treat. I mean, you really need someone that you trust. So
correct.
It's important.
Correct. It's one of the reasons why I joined the chamber.
So yeah, exactly. And the referrals that way. And that's a great, I'm sure your business does run on referrals with that too. And that's important.
We're all
to have that trust.
We're all referrals. It's all trust. Yeah. And the idea is just the fact that, people now know that we're a member of the Northwest Chamber. It gives credibility, because we have to, you have to watch what you're doing, and you have to, everybody has to realize, because our issue is an issue with the chamber. And so we have to make sure that we do good work so that the chamber is happy to have in there.
And vice versa. We're glad to have you. So in your years of restoration, has there been like a favorite part of your career so far?
I think we're most proud of the fact that the City of Baltimore Police Department headquarters downtown, after the major, I think a hurricane in 2005, you have to excuse me on that, flooded the whole city. Interestingly enough, we call that our biggest basement water damage. There's 4 city blocks of a complete basement. And what we had to do in there, matter of fact, we got in the newspaper because our bill was $2.5 million. Okay. And we were one of the reasons why they blamed us for one of the reasons why the city had run out of money. I'm sure $2.5 million did not affect our bill, right. Did not affect their issue, but it was funny. So yeah, it's one of our prouder moments.
That's great. It's a big job, I'm sure. Time sensitive and yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of old court cases and documents and everything in there, and it was it was guards and everything. So yeah, we've had a lot of situations we just run into.
Yeah. What about anything interesting? I mean, I know just from having lunch and being in similar networking groups, you've had a couple of interesting experiences in your job. Are there any that stick out or that you'd want to share?
I was thinking about that question. I just, there was a situation, I think I mentioned it to you before, there's one situation, and it's sort of a lesson for everybody. I'm not going to mention who or what or where, I'm just going to mention there was a particular condominium in the area, and there was a lady who, she had been, what she was doing is she was actually a homeless person, what we thought was homeless. And she would walk up and down the streets, and people kind of probably, looked at her and went, oh, she had a bottle of liquor in her hand and just walked around and found out later she was the owner of this condo, which is probably $2 million. And she's like one of the wealthier people. But because of, unfortunately, with alcoholism, this is how she lived her life. And we were called in because she was not being able to manage, let's put it this way, not being able to manage her condominium. But the lesson I got out of this is you can't sit there when you're driving or walking by and look down at anybody, because you never know who that person may be. And this person was number 2 of this major organization, but something must have happened in her life or something psychological, and that was it. So
yeah. You have told me that before, and I think about that story often ever since we've talked about it. And it really is, I mean, it's such a life lesson. Everyone can kind of adapt to that. And it really goes to show you really don't know what people are going through or who they are.
Right, exactly. You're right. You never know. When you think you do, you don't.
That's true. Okay, so going on some of our lighter actors studio type questions.
All right, go ahead.
Is there a favorite word in your vocabulary, a word that motivates you, a word you try to live by, or just a word that you like to say?
A phrase, because I couldn't think of a word.
Okay.
Don't give up.
Important.
Okay, and my grandfather said to me when I started, he says, you only fail when you give up. That's when you fail, when you give up, when you stop. So I'm telling you, if I had to stop every time I failed in something in this business, and how we went from, I went from not knowing anything in the water damage restoration cleanup to we rebuild buildings. I mean, we're a full-size construction company. Yet if you ask me the difference between a hammer and a screwdriver, I don't know, but I figured it out. And you just got, when things really hit you, you gotta keep going.
Yeah. And when you build a business up from that much, I mean, you could have stopped at any time and, kept it as is, but you kept growing it to make it bigger. And that's, a testament to not giving up.
It's my employees. It's finding the right employees. And, it's interesting you said that, because people say, God, I'm having a hard time finding employees, and people don't work out. And the answer is, you never know. There's all these systems and things that you can buy. I hope you don't hear the barking in the background. I apologize. We have 2 dogs and no carpet to absorb the sound. So, so I'll just kind of ignore them. So basically, I'm sorry, where were we?
With your employees, having people with trouble.
There's no magic formula for finding employees. You do your best you can. You interview, you gut feeling, and then if they work, great. If they don't, you move on. I, after 30 years, have a set of managers that basically run the company for me. So I'm fortunate to be able to go out, and what they want is they want to grow the company. I'm 56 years old. I'm very satisfied with the lot of life I'm in. I've been very fortunate. I'm very lucky. I call myself very lucky. But they wanted to grow. So because of that, we're growing. And we'll eventually, we have a location in Philadelphia, which my son actually works at. And I have another son that joined the company, and he is working in Baltimore to be trained, but eventually we'll open up in Northern Virginia. And then we're gonna, we have young, very energetic folks who want to increase their lot in life, and that's great.
That's great. Yeah. For your company, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, how about sounds or noise? Are there any sounds or noise that you like when you're relaxing or when you're working or anything like that?
Well, I have 5 grandchildren, believe it or not. And I know you're saying, gee, I don't look that old, but and it just to listen to them when they're over the house is phenomenal. And I never thought I'd be a grandfather, but I'm glad I am. And my name is Saba.
Oh, I love that.
Saba. It's easy. And I actually have a 1.5-year-old who can't say Saba, so he says Sa. I'm Sa. So I get
it's endearing.
So Sa is my favorite word right now. As I sound right now.
That's a great one. It's a unique one too. I like that.
Thank you.
So what profession other than your own would you either like to attempt or would you have liked to attempt?
Well, that's interesting you said that, because my every probably 10 minutes I always say to my wife, I should have done that, or I should have done that. I'll tell you something for people who are watching this, and I was really amazed, and this is going to sound kind of crazy. I mean, there's a lot of things. I'm telling you, if you stand simply for an hour, I promise you I'll go through 10 businesses that I said, that sounds interesting. Fast food. And I know that sounds really weird, but I went to a convention for Burger King, franchise owners. It was a convention. I was actually an exhibitor.
Okay.
And it's very turnkey, and people who want to make, entrepreneurs who really want to, there's a difference. There are people that I think work a job or own a business because they enjoy what they do, and money is secondary. It's enough to make a living, and I respect that. People are like, oh, you shouldn't do that. I respect that. But for those who are looking to make a nice living, go work at a fast food joint. I should have done that. Work at a fast food joint, flipping burgers, learn the operation, and then somehow see if you can purchase a franchise. These guys are killing it.
Yeah. And it's like the same thing. I mean, just learning the ins and outs of the business, all aspects that go into it. I mean, there's a lot to learn. And when you have that firsthand experience, it sets you apart from everyone else who's trying to do that.
Well, I stuck my 24-year-old out in the middle of New Jersey, outside of Philadelphia, and basically threw him out and said, look, you've been trained for 3 months in Baltimore, but now you're going to be responsible for your own projects. See, he's done it for a year, and first he was very nervous, but he learned it. Yeah. And now he actually is starting to sell for the company up there. So he's visiting customers. So I said, you're probably going to screw up and not know what to say. He goes, Dad, I've been doing this for a year. I know every aspect of it. That's one thing I don't have to worry about, because you've had me do everything. So. And
that's a proud moment for you too. I mean, it worked out that way, and now he's thriving with that. So that's great.
Yeah. Well, my father owned a factory when I was younger, and he passed away when I was 16. And he had me shoveling everything from sweeping the floors to in this factory, to doing every menial task, so that nobody ever would say, "Oh, you don't know what it's like. You come from a privileged family." Matter of fact, it reminded me in Owings Mills there was a day camp called Camp Wonderland. It's off of Deer Park. I don't know if you're familiar. Are you from Owings Mills originally?
I'm not.
So it's in there, and actually the camp is there. It's broken down. It's still there. It's not owned by us anymore. And my father wanted to show myself and everybody else so that I could do anything. So for a summer, I shoveled manure, horse manure. So
you can do it all. And it's important. It's humbling. It's character building. It's all really important as you
Okay,
grow into a
I definitely
professional.
got character building.
It is.
I was definitely a character builder.
Okay, and then I get the last question that we have, which is probably the most important, which you have given some great lessons during this interview. So it's definitely, I think, important and applicable to everybody. But what is the one business lesson that you wish you would have learned prior to starting your career?
I like that question. I think
It's a good one.
a really good question. I mean, the problem is there's probably more if I had known. Understanding to a small degree the accounting part of business. That is one thing I'm weak at. I'm still weak at it. And accountants like to start running off about all these very involved technology terms and stuff like that, and everybody kind of, you're swimming around going, well, just handle it. But the idea of understanding it, I took it at college. I took accounting 1 and accounting 2, and I honestly, if I couldn't remember a darn thing in that class, but I learned, you learn it, and it's running the numbers, the financial numbers in your business.
Yeah. And that's important, especially so it's one of the biggest operations is the cash flow and the numbers and everything that goes into that. So really important.
I have it. My guys gave me a shirt I have. I'll have to wear it one day. It's called Cash is King.
Wear it to one of the networking events. I'm sure everyone will love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Jeff, so much for joining us today and allowing us to learn a little bit more about you. Again, Jeff is with SI Restoration, so whether you or someone that you know needs any services, he's a great contact to have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great rest of your day, and we appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Same to you guys. So bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.